second. Hi folks, Steven here. This is going to be another little presentation we're going to do. Obviously today was Pokemon Go Community Day. Today was Piplup themed, which I guess is appropriate, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, where it's the statistically, I think, the coldest month of the year, although that doesn't always hold up every year. We're going to go through sort of what happened today. I did things a little bit differently, in part because of the weather, and I have a few other updates. Actually, at the end of this presentation, there's going to be a number of things where I talk about upcoming stuff on the channel in various capacities, and so definitely want to stick around for that. If you do have any questions or comments on that, go ahead and type those into the chat or as a comment if you're watching this on replay. As always, a lot of stuff to cover, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's see here. Let's do a quick screen share. As usual, I have a slideshow to go through here. We're using the StreamYard setup, so I don't have any problem showing that. You may recall a week or two ago when I did a live stream of some stuff for the Mystery Dungeon stuff and the Pokemon Direct. I wanted to do a slideshow, and I just couldn't figure out a way to do it because of all sorts of technical issues. Here, not a problem. Let's see here. Make sure I don't need that notification. I wish I could just make it so it doesn't show there. And all right, so yeah, today was the Piplup one, and of course, as the way these always work is they pretty much always feature a fully evolvable Pokemon of some sort. In other words, one that has two stages of evolution. So oftentimes they'll do the starters, and other times they'll do other stuff. And usually, if you fully evolve within a certain time frame, you will get a special move. And this is no exception. So this is Piplup. I think Hydro Cannon. It's definitely in the presentation a little bit later. Is the one that is the one we're looking for there. But let's see. I think we usually start off with, let's do the weather forecast. So you remember last month, let's see, we had, that was, of course, the big end of 2019 one they did. That was a 2-day thing and all that stuff. And I did stuff both days. Let's see. Oh, darn this. A little bit of food or something on my shirt, unfortunately. Anywho, so last month, we had, back in mid-December, we had a high of around 23, at least on the Saturday. The Sunday, I think, was pretty similar. It was a little bit below normal on both the high and the low temperature. The average wind speed, I forgot to change there. So that 6.7 miles per hour is probably wrong. Very sorry about that. But I did take the weather for yesterday, even though Community Day was today. Sorry. What I did was, but the high for yesterday was 32, the low was 3, and those are both outside the normals, but in opposite directions. Today, I think we had a high in the low 20s and a low in the upper single digits. This is all Fahrenheit, of course, but I think it was originally forecast a few days ago to be even colder today, about 5 to 10 degrees colder. So it could have been worse. All the same, after my experience the last couple of months, being outside in relatively cold temperatures, decided I wanted to experiment a little bit with doing Pokemon Go Community Day in a different place than I usually do. And I went to... All right, so this is the exterior of the Westtown Mall. Madison has, well, basically 3 malls. There's a Westtown Mall, an Easttown Mall, and then there's a third mall that's a little closer to the Isthmus, which is an outdoor mall, which is one reason I didn't go there today. As you can see, the plants out there, as such as they are covered in snow. For some bizarre reason, it seems like, at least the last couple of years, the snow doesn't really arrive until early to mid-January. We got some in, actually, for Halloween and into early November, and then but This is the first major stuff we've gotten for really a while, to be honest, depending on where you are in the state of Wisconsin. So this is the West Sound Mall. Now, of course, as a lot of you know, malls have not fared so great over the last 5 to 10 years with the rise of online shopping and whatnot. This one, I don't think you're going to be seeing it anytime soon on a Bright Sun Films Abandoned series entry. It's doing relatively okay, although we've lost a couple of our anchor stores. However, yes, I do have a little bit to show in a moment on that, but we do have, and I did want to note here, this is sort of the layout of stuff. You notice there's a gym in the mall. It happens to be in the kids' play area, kind of whatever. And there's like one other Pokestop in really this entire section. This includes the mall, some of the surrounding restaurants and shops. There's like one other Pokestop at like the Olive Garden nearby, which if you could see it on this map would be a little bit off to the right, on the upper side of that. So that's kind of a little awkward there. You can see that this was obviously taken during the time because there's a little Piplup there. As usual, 3-hour window for these things. Let's see, what did I do? Okay, so this is the part I wanted to talk about as far as the mall itself goes. So it looks like we're getting, we've had, it's in that, like that Bergner's chain, like they had like 3 or 4 different levels as a result of like acquisitions and different sizes and whatnot. That closed about a year or 2 ago. Really, the only anchor store we have at this mall right now is a JCPenney. But you can see we're getting I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm sure they're in other malls. If anyone knows about this chain, now kind of the sad thing here, it's opening in the fall of 2021. You'd think it'd be opening in the fall this year, but I guess that's probably not a typo. I did take a little bit of advantage there to put a Piplup AR photo in there, just to have a little fun with that. Let's see, but that used to be either a Bergner's or one of those chains there. There's a whole Company Man video on that chain. We also used to have a Sears in this mall, and that's been taken up by a Dave & Buster's and a beverage store of sorts in the mall. I think there's actually still a little bit of space left over there. So at least most of the space is getting used, although I did see a few places that were closing there, like the Gap. But enough about the mall itself. Let's see here. Oh, I guess there is a little bit more about the mall. Now, we used to have a full-size like Build-A-Bear store. Now we have sort of a stand. It's relatively large, but they do have some of the Pokemon stuff there. They have obviously the new Flareon, which I took advantage of here to put in a Flareon AR photo. Kind of nice stuff there. So at least they're still more or less around there. Hopefully that sticks around. All right, so apparently there's this new feature that I tried to use here that just didn't really work out for me. It's called this like Expert Handler AR Plus type thing that they do. And I'm not a super like expert on it or anything. If someone out there knows more about it, I'll have to look up more. I tried looking at the instructions. Apparently you're supposed to, you're supposed to scan around a wide flat area, which I thought the inside of the mall would work fine for, since the floor is level. It's a 1-story mall, so it's not super huge or anything. And I thought I would be able to find like a way to do that. Of course, it's the directions say you're supposed to like actually like sneak up on stuff, and I'm not sure if I want to do that inside of a mall. I might get some weird questions. So unfortunately, you're not going to see too many catching AR photos here. I don't know if I have actually any in there. So I had to go back to sort of the regular mode, which is kind of a shame. But this is the first Piplup I went and captured at the mall, if I remember correctly. And, you know, you usually get a better than usual instance of shinies. I managed to pick up 3 shinies in this month's event. Unfortunately, none of them were particularly good. I think the highest on the 3-star system was there was a 1-star. 1 or 2 of them were 1-star. As you can sort of see, the shiny Piplup is a little more cyan rather than just straight up blue in there. So I did manage to catch quite a few of them. Now let's see. This was something I saw. Remember I talked to you about the Olive Garden having a Pokestop in there. So saw this silhouette, and I originally thought, oh, is that a Regigigas? They're not completely dissimilar in the silhouette form, but actually that's a throw. Now I didn't feel like going out all the way over to the Olive Garden in the that takes up some space on the block in what would otherwise be a parking lot to go there. Let's see. But I was fortunate enough that sometime later, another throw spawned right inside the mall, and I was able to pick that up. It's not particularly great stat-wise, but it was a new Pokemon for me. They're adding more of those new Gen 5 Pokemon, which they'll probably be doing throughout the next few months, and I assume sometime later this year they'll probably get into the X and Y Gen 6 late this year. At least that's what I think will happen. Decently powerful Pokemon, but stat-wise, within the realm of throw, not maybe the best out there. All right, let's see what else we got next. So I told you that there is a gym inside the mall by Pokemon Go terms. A raid did spawn there while I was in the mall. It ended up being, let's see, it ended up being this golem that you can see right now. Level 4 raid. I didn't have a golem. I think I have a Graveler. Still have some work to do to get a golem. I don't have a golem, Alolan or otherwise. And unfortunately, no one else really seemed to be around then. At least I didn't see that battle number go up. Usually there are some folks who are gung-ho enough to give it a shot. I don't think I would need the full, like, 15 or 18 people they recommend, excuse me, for a level 4 raid. But definitely not one I can do by myself, even though, Golem has those, like, takes 4 times damage from, like, water and grass, which are pretty common types. So you can kind of game that there, but just me by myself, virtually no chance there. Usually anything above a 2 you need to help for. So after that, I did take a look at some of the other areas nearby. So there's a couple stores. There's a Best Buy. There's a Kohl's, KOHLS. You might not be familiar with that. They have coverage in most of the country, but there are the department store that's not attached to the mall, but sometimes is attached to a mall. And then there's, there's a Barnes & Noble. The Barnes & Noble had a Starbucks in it, but it doesn't count as like a Starbucks spot, like in a Target in this side of town. There's a Starbucks there that does count as a Pokestop, but unfortunately wasn't able to get that going. Of course, as is often the case with these community day events, you get bonuses for hatching. First off, you get a lot more candy for hatching stuff. I hatched some Pokemon that I got 10 or more candy for that particular type, which was really nice. I got this Carvana, which has some pretty decent stats, not perfect. Eventually, I may be able to get that evolved into a Sharpedo, I hope. Let's see. I hatched a fair number of eggs today as well because they had reduced hatch distances, which was really nice. All right, let's talk about, these are the 2 best Piplup. Like I said, my shiny ones, unfortunately, were not particularly well statted. As a result, I did not bother really trying to evolve them. In part just because I didn't have enough candy to do 2 full evolutions. I would have needed about another 30 or 40. I didn't want to use up a bunch of rare candy. But these were my 2 best Piplup. They're both 3 stars. You can see the one on the right overall seems to have somewhat better stats. The one on the left has better HP, maximum HP, and not quite as good defense. The one on the right is the other way around, but it does have better attack. So I ended up evolving that one on the right. And of course, it's a 2-stage evolution. You go from to Prinplup, and then finally Empoleon. And yes, indeed, I got Hydro Cannon. I'm not sure how good Metal Claw is as an attack. There aren't a ton of things that resist that, but it could be a problem if I'm going up against, say, a fire type that you'd want to use that Hydro Cannon, but it can be hard to build up to it using a Metal Claw. So I might consider seeing what I can do there. But yeah, Empoleon, I'm not sure exactly why they decided to add the metal or steel type to it. I think in the trading card game it's called metal. So that's a little bit odd. But if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. But yeah, so that should come in handy in the future. I'll need to use some of my spare candy since I didn't have enough to do 2 complete evolutions to power up Empoleon a little bit and use it in raids in the future. It's always a pretty useful one there for a lot of things. Okay, so next one. All right, so you may wonder why this one was pretty late in the evening. Well, I had to wait for a certain sporting event to finish. And speaking of things that won't be featured in a sporting event in major sporting event in 2 weeks, not too disappointed in the result of today's game, but this is a little bit of an update on Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. So, you may recall that we've kind of been waiting for news on this one. Our best hint is that there was a listing that attributed it in the Netherlands to coming through Netflix. That listing was then had some of its information changed to obfuscate it, which is kind of weird, but something that actually happened there. But on the assumption that Netflix is still somehow involved, I did a quick look to see if they would be having any commercials in this year's Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And it looks like, as far as they're concerned, they're not. I got this report off of, well, it's probably pronounced Adage, although it's spelled Adage. And you can see the link there. But despite the fact that Netflix has run commercials the last couple of years, this year they're taking some time off. So you almost certainly will not be seeing a Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution ad there. I think our next best bets, assuming they can get things nailed down, I'm kind of not sure exactly what's going on there since I don't have any inside info. What I would think is if they're trying to do a theatrical distribution, Netflix is running into its usual problem of convincing theaters to go with a shorter than usual window before it appears on Netflix, which has been a problem they've had with The Irishman and a bunch of their other films. So that may be what's holding up from an announcement. I think our next best bet, let's see, it's either the 7th or the 8th of February is Mewtwo's birthday. So that would not be a bad day if they have that. Otherwise, at the end of February, we have Pokemon Day, or it could just come out whenever, depending on how long it takes them to get that. But it's definitely going to come out in some form, and I'm hoping there is a theatrical run for that. But like I said, don't expect to see an ad for it in 2 weeks. It's apparently not going to happen there. All right, I think the next thing we have is I have a bunch of announcements for upcoming things that are going to be coming in the next month or so, I guess. All right, so first off, so you may recall, first off, I guess it was last Sunday, I got it out, the latest episode of the Pokepress Digest podcast. I got that out, and that was covering Pokemon Pinball, plus I had a bonus archival interview with Adam Elk. As you may know, we're part of the Pokecasters Network. And turns out later this week on Thursday, we're having a public meeting. It's open to the public, although most of the discussion will be from the chairs and occasional stuff and some votes potentially. But that is this Thursday, January 23rd, and I misspelled that, darn. Maybe that's why. Silly me. But it's at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that is Eastern. Some of the other stuff here is going to be Central because that's the time zone I normally operate on, but that means it's going to be 6 p.m. Central, and then an hour earlier Mountain, and an hour earlier in the West Coast. If you're overseas, I'm not sure exactly what that'll be. But that is this Thursday. I should be on the line. There is going to be run, I believe, through the Pokecasters Network Discord. If you go to pokecastersnetwork.com, you should be able to find the information there. But yeah, that's kind of the first thing that's coming up later this week. And then, let's see, this next weekend, the last weekend in January. So, first off, I am planning on going to a Pokemon Sword and Shield pre-release. Now, we're still getting things settled here back in Madison, so we don't have one this go-around. The nearest ones to me would be in the Milwaukee area or the Rockford area. And my plan is on next Saturday, the 25th, to go to the noon pre-release at Top Cut Comics in Loves Park, Illinois. They're actually doing like a midnight pre-release. I saw a few places doing that. Maybe if there was one locally here in Madison, I might be interested in it. But probably not. going to take them up on that offer. Just because of not so I don't want to be traveling out in the middle of the night for something like that. I'm sure it'll be a fine event, but I will be more than happy to go to the noon one next day. But I'm planning on being there if you happen to be. Loves Park is just north of Rockford, Illinois. So if you happen to be in that area, if you're looking to decide what previews to go to, that might be one if you want to see me drop by there. Otherwise, let's see. Next Sunday, I am planning on doing a Pokemon TCG for Game Boy live stream. So this is the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy game that came out in the U.S. back in, I believe, 2000. Was when that originally came out, and I'm going to be doing a live stream. Now, I do have a full Let's Play you can take a look at if you'd like to, but I'd like to do kind of a live stream next weekend. I'll probably also talk about the pre-release a little bit there in one form or another. Let's see how that one works out. All right, and then, of course, one of the reasons I'm doing this live stream is in 2 weeks. So we don't have this totally nailed down. I scheduled this with Ann for February 2nd, and then I realized, wait a minute, there's a major sporting event that day, and when we originally scheduled it, there was a chance that a team from Wisconsin might be in it, although they won't be. Now we know that, but all the same, we got to figure out when we're going to do this. It'll probably either be Sunday morning or sometime on Saturday, assuming we can work out that weekend there with Ann. This is going to be our Pokemon TCG for Game Boy music discussion. We're going to talk about the music for that game, do some research on the person behind it. I think it's just one person. It was a Hudson-developed game of all things. And that's going to be right here on the Pokepress YouTube channel. And then I got another tentative thing for later next month, or to the middle of next month. I have registered to be press at Anime Milwaukee 2020. I have not received confirmation back, but that sometimes takes a little bit of time. Even though I've covered this many times, those are folks, this is not their main job. They have other things they do, but hopefully I'll hear back soon. And I do absolutely intend to go to that. They're having a number of voice actors there, notably the woman who does the current voice in the English dub of Officer Jenny, at least through the Sun and Moon generation. Not sure if things will change with the next thing when that comes out in a month or two. But I'm definitely looking forward to going through to that. So that's kind of my plan for that weekend. Okay, and yep, that should be the last slide. All right, so let's see here. All right. We have a little comment here in the chat room from a couple minutes ago. Bill Emmel says, I wish I could trade with someone on Pokemon Go. Well, I can't help you right this second, but if you ever do see me at a convention or at an event or something like that, you can certainly ask. I can't guarantee I'll trade something with you, but if you're looking for a trade, I am up for those potentially. But yeah, so that is going to be a lot of what we're talking about today. So like I said, just to review what's going on, first of all, obviously I just talked about the Pokemon Go Piplup Community Day that was today. Had a lot of fun with that. I think next time, let me know if there's other areas of Madison you'd like me to go to. Once it warms up a little bit, I could try doing one of these downtown near the state capitol building. I'm not sure when next month. It might be over Valentine's weekend, which means I'll be in Milwaukee for that, most likely at Anime Milwaukee. So that'll be a little bit different. And then, but if there's other areas, if you want me to check out Easttown Mall or the Capitol area or the UW campus or something like that, I can certainly look at doing some of those in the future, just to let you see more of the city. That is something I'm very much interested in doing. This one didn't work out so great, just mainly because there was only like one gym and one Pokestop in this entire relatively large block of space on the west side of Madison. It just would happen to be different, and I could be inside for a lot of it, which was very nice today, given the weather could have been worse, but not great. But like I said, upcoming things. Next weekend, Saturday, planning on going to a pre-release in Loves Park, Illinois for Sword and Shield for the TCG. Next Sunday should be a live stream talking about Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy. We're going to play through an hour or so of that. Little weather talk there in the chat room. And then let's see, what else have I got? Let's see. Next up is the what is it? Oh, after that is going to be the weekend after. We're going to do discussion with Anne. Tentatively speaking, I think we have to adjust our schedules a little bit because of some events that weekend. And then middle of next month should be Anime Milwaukee. So that's the plan for the next. I've also got some stuff I'm working on aside from that I'm not going to talk about just yet. But other than that, if you have any questions, any comments, let us know. All right, folks, thanks.